Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to another What to Watch as you head into the weekend with a film that is a bit hard to explain, but easy to recommend if wanting something a bit strange and supernatural with a dash of comedy on top, which is John Dies at the End from 2012. Can't believe it's already been 11 years. But anyways, the synopsis for this film is as follows. A new street drug that sends its users across time and dimensions has one drawback. Some people return no longer human. Can two college dropouts save humanity from this silent, otherworldly invasion? So, even that synopsis is, a bit weird to kind of wrap my head around. But this film stars Chase Williamson, who I mainly know from Video Game High School, and actually Jimmy Wong from Video Game High School is also in this, has a smaller role, as well as Rob Mays, Paul Giamatti, Clancy Brown, among others. We even get this cool non-prosthetic covered Doug Jones show up, which is a nice change to actually get to see his face. There's a really interesting scene in it, but it is directed by Don Coscarelli, who directed most of the Phantasm films. I believe he did all but Part 5, and I just covered those recently on my channel, as well as Bubba Hotep that I covered as well. But he also worked on the script of this with David Wong, who's also, he was writing under the name David Wong, but he's since been republishing under his real name, which is Jason Pargin, who wrote the book that this is based on and the subsequent books that have come out afterward. Anyways, so back to John Dies at the End, the film. This is one of those strange films that easily builds out some really interesting characters and locations and concepts. The best I can describe it without really going into spoiler territory would be that John and Dave, they've kind of come to specialize in investigating and helping people through strange happenings in their undisclosed town. Even in the books, they just refer to it as undisclosed. And sort of like these pretty untalented, slacker versions of paranormal investigators in a way. So we begin with, Dave, played by Chase Williamson, who's meeting with a reporter, played by Paul Giamatti, to kind of tell his story about this drug that he came across, how he gained access to it and came across it, and what effects it's had, as well as all the situations surrounding this drug, not just being in his system, but kind of being unleashed on this town, all of his involvement with it. So he's kind of telling this whole story to him to hope that he can write an article about it or open up some sort of investigative journalism about it, or maybe even write a book about it. But what I can say about this drug, which they just refer to as soy sauce, because it looks like soy sauce, is that the slightest amount will kind of open your perception, let you see and even exist throughout time and alternate timelines, different dimensions, while also having the ability to also, along with seeing, also interact with other things from that dimensions that most people just can't actually even perceive. So throughout those he meets along the, through those who he meets along the way, once he was exposed to this drug, and it's kind of opened him up to what's kind of happening around him, what's happening with our reality. We get pulled into this path that our reality is about to be taken over by this cosmic or interdimensional threat. So along the way, he works with his partner John and friend Amy and her dog Barkley, to and even with their guidance, this kind of other person who does similar work but is more of a celebrity, Dr. Marconi, who's played by Clancy Brown, to try to find a way to save humanity from this weird interdimensional alternate timeline kind of warped strange threat that's on this town. Think of this as being, as strange as Buckaroo Banzai, where sometimes you may feel like maybe you're missing some info about the story, but it's a bit darker. It's definitely, R-rated, and it would actually make a really good double feature. So if you like Buckaroo Banzai, you might like going down this path for this film as well. And, but as strange as the film is, just like trying to describe it, unlike some of those Phantasm films that I covered a few weeks back that were kind of hard to even wrap my head around what was happening within those stories, this film is a bit hard to explain without just talking about beat by beat what happens to these characters along the way as they're investigating this, because so many strange things happen. But so it won't really make sense to kind of go into too much more detail without that spoiler, but just rest assured that as you're watching the film, all of this makes sense, because it is told in a pretty linear way. I mean, we do have some flashbacks here and there, some stuff as he's telling this story to the reporter, but nothing that's really going to throw you off track to really figure out what's going on in it. It's just extremely bizarre, and it's really put together in a really great way. Now, as for Jason Pargin, the writer, I'm on book 4 in his series. So needless to say, I like these characters enough, and the setting, you know, this kind of world that he created, that I ended up getting John Dies at the End. This is the one that's tied in directly with the film, with the same marketing. And I got the sequel, This Book is Full of Spiders. And then I got the third one in it, which is called What the Hell Did I Just Read? And right now I'm almost done with the latest one, the fourth one, If This Book Exists, You Are in the Wrong Universe. But I like that, you know, I like this idea of this more comedic approach to some of these ideas, and I ended up even getting into a few more of his books, such as Futuristic Violence in Fancy Suits, has cats and guns, so that's all good. And the sequel to it, Zoe Punches a Future in the Dick. So as you can see, this is some really high literature, you know, very highbrow stuff. A lot of fun reads there. Just like this film, it's a lot of fun. So anyways, heading into this weekend, I just wanted to give that quick little recommendation this Friday morning for John Dies at the End, which is currently on Hulu, I believe, as well as paid rental. It is a strange, fun, paranormal film, which, like his books and many other Coscarelli films, are more than worth checking out. And speaking of checking out, thanks for checking out this latest little What to Watch recommendation, and for sticking around to the end, as liking, subscribing, sharing, giving all that thumbs up, and hitting the bell icon, and all those things really do help out quite a bit. But what are your thoughts on this film if you've already seen it, or if you've come back to this little recommendation here after I recommended it? Did you enjoy it? What'd you think of it? Have you read the books? What are your thoughts on those? And what about other Coscarelli works? Go ahead and sound off in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.